This 17-year-old high school student heads to his friend's house. They often spend a lot of time together, especially studying. Today is no different. He goes there to study. But when he arrives, he cannot find his friend. Instead, only his friend's mother is at home. He walks inside and decides to wait. While waiting, he begins chatting with the mother. And then, shockingly, since no one else is around, the high school student suddenly walks up to his friend's mother and kisses her. Even more surprising, she kisses him back. Just at that moment, the friend arrives home. He walks in to find his own mother and his best friend kissing. Furious and confused, he demands to know how this could happen. Welcome back to Movie Now. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The movie introduces us to Claude, a 17-year-old high school student. Claude is very smart, hardworking, and respected in his neighborhood. His grades are excellent, and many students admire him. They want to study with him, hoping to learn from his brilliance. One of these students is Rafa, Claude's close friend. They spend a lot of time together, especially studying. Both boys earn good grades, but Rafa struggles with math. Because of this, he asks Claude to come to his house and tutor him. Their parents agree, and so the boys begin studying together at Rafa's home. Meanwhile, we meet Mr. Germain, the boys' English teacher. In class, he gives his students a new assignment: write a story, any story, but make sure it has continuity. It should be a story that can go on and on until he says stop. The next day, the students bring their assignments. Mr. Germain collects them and later, at home, reads them aloud to his wife, Jean. Jean listens with amusement, laughing at some of the stories. After going through most of the students' work, Mr. Germain finally picks up Claude's assignment. Right away, he realizes Claude's story is different from the others. Instead of writing something imaginary, Claude writes about real life. More specifically, he writes about Rafa's family. His story describes what happens when he goes to Rafa's house, what the family is like, and how they live their everyday lives. The details are surprising, even shocking. Claude focuses a lot on Rafa's mother, Esther. He describes her beauty and elegance, writing in a way that reveals his fascination with her. Reading this, Mr. Germain is stunned. Jean asks how a 17-year-old could come up with something so bold. But Mr. Germain dismisses her concern, saying Claude is just a student, free to write as he pleases. The teacher and his wife argue a little about whether this kind of writing is appropriate. But the next day, in class, Mr. Germain tells Claude his work is good and encourages him to continue the story. Claude is thrilled. Encouraged by the praise, he writes the second part and gives it to the teacher. As usual, Mr. Germain reads it to his wife at night. And now, both he and Jean become fascinated. Unlike the other students' stories, Claude's writing pulls them in. They are curious, almost hooked, wondering what will happen next. In this new chapter, Claude describes another evening at Rafa's house. This time, Esther is hanging new curtains by the window. He notices every little detail, the way the fabric moves, the way she looks in her dress, how her beauty seems to fill the room. Claude writes about this with such intensity that Mr. Germain and Jean don't know whether to be worried or captivated. On one hand, they are disturbed by how focused Claude is on his friend's mother. On the other hand, they cannot stop reading. They want more. The next day, Mr. Germain finds Claude alone and tells him how much he enjoyed the story. He encourages Claude to expand even more, to add more detail and continue the narrative. Claude beams with pride. That night, Claude once again visits Rafa's home. Rafa and his father, Rafa Sr., are watching football on TV. Esther, meanwhile, is in the kitchen cooking. Claude pays little attention to the game. Instead, he focuses on Esther, what she is cooking, how she moves, every gesture she makes. He watches carefully, not because he is hungry, but because he wants to capture every detail for his story. To him, Esther is not just his friend's mother. She is the center of his imagination, the star of his writing. He cannot take his eyes off her. And so, piece by piece, Claude writes a story not only about the family but about his own desires, dreams, and fantasies inside their house. Mr. Germain and Jean, against their better judgment, continue reading each chapter. They are torn between being shocked by the content and being addicted to the storytelling. After carefully writing down every detail of what he saw, Claude gives his work to his teacher the next day. Mr. Germain reads it with joy, clearly impressed. His wife, Jean, is also present, listening closely to the story. She finds herself completely captivated by Claude's writing. The way Claude describes things feels almost too real, and it draws her in. Claude is thrilled because both his teacher and Jean enjoy his story. But in order to turn it into something even more dramatic, almost like a thriller, Claude decides to take things a step further. One day, after waiting for Rafa and his father to leave the house, Claude goes over. He knocks on the door, and this time Rafa's mother, Esther, answers. Esther is surprised to see him there alone. She asks him why he has come. Claude quickly explains that he left his bag at the house the night before and needs to pick it up. Esther tells him no one else is home, but she still invites him inside. Claude feels excited. For the first time, he is alone in the house with Esther. He doesn't waste time. Approaching her, he tells her how beautiful she looks today, and that the clothes she's wearing make her look even more stunning. His words make Esther smile, and she is flattered by his attention. The story shows us that, little by little, they begin to get closer. And then, they start kissing. Since Rafa isn't at home, Claude feels free to do whatever he wants. Esther, knowing no one else is around, takes him upstairs into the bedroom. That is where they sleep together. From that day on, Claude uses the advantage of Rafa and his father often being away. He and Esther continue to meet in secret, always inside the house. Claude writes everything down in his story, every single detail, every stolen moment. He does not leave anything out. One day, while they are kissing in the washroom, something shocking happens. Rafa suddenly arrives home. Walking in, he sees his best friend kissing his own mother. Rafa is completely shocked, and his face fills with fury. In his anger, he attacks Claude, beating him up and forcing him to leave the house. From that moment, the friendship between Rafa and Claude is destroyed. The students at school notice the sudden change. They are confused and wonder why the two boys, once so close, now seem like enemies. But Claude doesn't stop writing. He continues to work on the story, adding more and more chapters. However, this time, Mr. Germain becomes upset. The more Claude writes, the darker and more troubling the story becomes. Worried about where it is heading, Mr. Germain warns Claude to stop. He tells him not to continue anymore. Claude feels disappointed. He insists that he is almost at the end of the story and just wants to finish it. But Mr. Germain refuses to listen. He firmly warns Claude again and then leaves him alone. Claude grows angry. He still wants to write and finish his story, but now he has no one left to read it. Without an audience, his writing feels empty. Frustrated and heartbroken, he decides to see Esther one last time. When Claude goes to her, Esther is filled with regret. She feels guilty for everything that happened, ashamed that she betrayed her husband. She tells Claude she never wants to see him again. Claude is crushed. His heart breaks as he realizes the affair is truly over. Still, he writes about their separation, turning it into the final part of his story. After finishing, he heads to his teacher's house to give it to Mr. Germain. But when he arrives, Mr. Germain is not home. Instead, Jean, the teacher's wife, answers the door. Jean is shocked to see Claude standing there. She knows him well. After all, her husband has been reading Claude's writings to her at home. What shocks her even more is how deeply she has been drawn into Claude's story. She admits, silently to herself, that she has developed a strange liking for him because of the writing. Inviting him inside, Jean asks Claude why he has come. He explains that he has written the final letter, the last part of his story, and wants Mr. Germain to read it. Jean tells him to wait until her husband returns. But Claude, wasting no time, moves closer to Jean. Soon, he begins kissing her too. And just like with Esther, Claude ends up sleeping with her as well. When Mr. Germain finds out what has happened, he is furious. He learns that Claude has slept with his wife. His anger is beyond words. Unable to forgive her or continue living the same way, he divorces Jean. He also quits his teaching job, too consumed by rage and disappointment to go on. The damage caused by Claude's actions is enormous. He has destroyed more than one family. His nature seems to be to enter people's lives, get close to them, and then write about them. In doing so, he stirs feelings and thoughts they never expected. Because of this, he not only ruined Rafa's family, but also tore apart the life of his own teacher. And yet, the movie shows us Claude still at school, carrying on as if nothing happened. The ending reveals the consequences for everyone. Mr. Germain loses his career and his marriage. Rafa's family also falls apart. Esther is left with regret. And Claude, the boy who wrote everything down, continues on, almost untouched, as though none of it had ever happened. And that, dear viewers, is the story of In the House. A movie that shows us how curiosity, obsession, and desire can cross dangerous lines, changing lives forever. What do you think of Claude's actions? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned for more movie recaps. Until next time, stay safe and take care.